So hello everybody, welcome back to the platform of Unacademy, and we are discussing a very important unit these days, that is Pediatric Nephrology. This is one of the prettiest simple units in pediatrics that I would say, highly concept based, very easy to understand, and all of us can score, in fact, like answer all the questions that comes from nephrology if we are clear with the concepts. So I'm sorry for being late. There was some technical issue from my side. So for those who have joined and left because of this problem, I'm sorry. I hope that you guys join soon, and those who have joined in, so we can start discussing two important topics today, which is your hemolytic uremic syndrome and Henoch-Schönlein purpura, HUS and HSP. So we had started our discussion based on the nephritic syndromes. Since the first day itself, we had finished nephrotic. So nephritic part is very important because it includes a lot of syndromes that we have to discuss about. So yesterday we had discussed in detail about post-streptococcal glomerulonephritis, SLE nephritis, that is lupus nephritis, and rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis. Today we are going to discuss another two important topics, that is your HUS and HSP. So I'll detail you about the subscription part towards the end of the class because we're already running late for the class. Okay, so let's just begin with the class. So hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now every time I try to correlate everything related to the topic itself. Okay? So it is very simple to understand things if you have a lot of word association. Okay? Now hemolytic means it is something to do with hematuria. That means there is kind of hemolysis, and therefore it is to do with the nephritic syndrome. So again, HUS, that is hemolytic uremic syndrome, will have the presentation which is quite similar to the nephritic syndrome. Okay, first thing very important. So isme again you will have hypertension, you would have features of hematuria, you can find edema, you can find undue progression of the course towards renal injury. So nephritic में कल हमने discuss किया था चार cardinal features क्या थे? There was edema, there was hypertension, there was hematuria, and there was progression to renal injury. So that is the exact picture that you would see in the pathogenesis of hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now basically this is it is a very common condition. And the best part is that it is diagnosis of exclusion. मतलब जब आपके patient nephritic syndrome के साथ आते हैं और आपको कोई भी diagnosis नहीं मिलता, तो finally you can label it as HUS if you're not able to work up for any other condition. So it is a very common community acquired cause related to acute kidney injury in young children. So age group is very important. This age group is again related to your nephrotic syndrome age group, that was your preschool and school going age group. So the age group is again your school going age group, that is your younger children. So it can lead to acute kidney injury in these patients of younger age group, and it is community acquired. That means it occurs due to common infections, and again our renal system will react to these infections once it gets angry that why the infection has occurred. Okay, so acute kidney injury, जब भी AKI का patient आता है और diagnosis नहीं बन पाती है, you can definitely think of hemolytic uremic syndrome. ना जो सबसे कैरेक्टरिस्टिक चीज होती है, हर डिजीज हर पैथोजेनेसिस का कुछ बहुत क्लासिकल फीचर है जो नीट पीजी वाले आपसे हर एग्जाम में पूछते हैं. सो द मोस्ट कॉमन फॉर्म और द मोस्ट पैथोलॉजिकल थिंग दैट अकर्स is basically microangiopathy. ठीक है, so it is the most common form also of thrombotic microangiopathy in children. So microangiopathy कहने का मतलब there is mechanical damage towards the red blood cells. So this kind of damage is going to lead to even anemia. It can lead to blood loss and it can lead to hemolysis. That is why the name hemolytic uremic syndrome. Okay, now HUS is characterized by a triad, which is very important for your exam. So this triad consists of MAHA, which is again your microangiopathic hemolytic anemia, which I just told you right now. The other triad part is thrombocytopenia. मतलब platelet count will also fall despite of fall in RBC. There is fall in platelet as well, and definitely a picture of acute renal injury or AKI. So these three are the classical things. If it is present and you suspect that the patient has got some kind of infective etiology, then you can make your diagnosis of HUS without any problem. That means इसका कोई अलग से टेस्ट नहीं होता, इसका कोई इन्वेस्टिगेशन ऑफ चॉइस नहीं है जिसपे आप कंफर्म कर सकते हो कि हाँ ये HUS का पेशेंट है. वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, इट इज अ डायग्नोसिस ऑफ एक्सक्लूजन. जैसे आप MCQ में फंस जाते हो कौन सा आंसर मार्क करना है, तो मैं आपको बताती हूँ डायग्नोसिस ऑफ एक्सक्लूजन यूज किया करो, मेथड ऑफ एक्सक्लूजन. दैट मींस जो बिल्कुल नहीं लग रहा पहले उसे एक्सक्लूड आउट करो. Try to exclude out two options which you're sure that it is not the answer. So you're left with 50% probability to mark your question right. So 50% में बहुत ज़्यादा chance होता है सही mark कर देने का. So you should never give up on easy questions. Even if you have not studied properly, you can just use your common sense, word associations, any imagination, anything that you heard about that question before. सो सिमिलरली HUS भी आपका डायग्नोसिस ऑफ एक्सक्लूजन है. कहने का मतलब जब AKI का पेशेंट होता है and you're not able to diagnose any other cause and there is some infective etiology and classically fits into the triad. There is loss of platelets, there is loss of hemoglobin and there is acute renal injury, then that becomes MAHA or classical triad representing HUS. Now there are many causes which can lead to acute renal injuries or HUS. So this is the exact table that is given in your Bible textbook. So HUS के बहुत सारे causes होते हैं, but most commonly which is to be known at your level and which you should learn for your exams is diarrhea associated HUS. So अगर आप पेशेंट से हिस्ट्री पूछते हो या आपके एग्जाम में कोई क्लू आता है HUS के क्वेश्चन में, इट इज हिस्ट्री ऑफ डायरिया. ठीक है. सो डायरिया एसोसिएटेड HUS में जो स्ट्रेन व्हिच इज रिस्पांसिबल इज योर STEC, दैट इज योर ई कोलाई स्ट्रेन जिसका नाम है O157H7 which is the typing of this particular strain, and also STEC O104 is to H4. So please remember these two strains which are responsible for causing diarrhea related HUS. So इसकी toxicity के वजह से the toxigenic part of this is going to result in the formation of renal injury. Apart from this, you can have many other causes, like it could be a secondary reaction of any systemic illness. It could be a reaction to your own autoimmune process like complement dysregulation. It could also mimic any drug reactions. So there are many causes. So out of the other causes, this is the most important cause, diarrhea associated HUS. इसके अलावा जिस पे क्वेश्चन आ चुका है या आ सकता है, which is more commonly seen in our Indian scenario, out of infection you have to remember Streptococcus pneumoniae. ठीक है. सो एस निमोनिया के पास एक स्पेशल फीचर होता है जो होता है न्यूरामिनिडेज. Now this neuraminidase is going to cleave your cell particles and after that it can result into the damage which mimics the damage of HUS also. So neuraminidase containing Streptococcus pneumoniae is another very important cause of developing HUS in our setup. इसके अलावा HIV has also been reported which can lead to HUS. So infections with Streptococcus pneumoniae and HIV, these two are very important. Now out of complement dysregulation, अगर हमारे बॉडी में ही complement dysregulation है या फिर हमारे बॉडी में कोई autoimmune setup है जिसकी वजह से renal damage हो रहा है, so in this you need to remember factor H, factor I, factor B and C3 deficiencies. ठीक है. HIV ये तीन पार्ट्स जो होते हैं इनके फैक्टर्स के प्रॉब्लम की वजह से ऑटो एंटीबॉडीज आर फॉर्म्ड एंड दीज कैन लीड टू पिक्चर ऑफ HUS. अपार्ट फ्रॉम दिस C3 डेफिशिएंसी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. सो रीनल पार्ट में हम हमेशा वर्ल्ड कप में क्या भेजते हैं, C3 C4 लेवल्स, बिकॉज जब भी रीनल डैमेज होता है C3 इज मोस्ट कॉमनली इन्वॉल्व. सो C3 डेफिशिएंसी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. इसके अलावा एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट कंडीशन है जो HUS की तरह प्रेजेंट करता है and needs to be differentiated, that is your TTP. TTP क्या है? It is thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura. Now this is an inherited disorder which basically occurs due to Adam TS13 mutation. ठीक है. Adam TS13 mutation. इस mutation की वजह से होता है TTP. Now in TTP basically what happens? Now the problem over here is because of this inheritance pattern, the RBCs get destroyed. जो हमारे protective cells होते हैं, they are attacked and these protective cells are not able to because of the lack of this protective cells, there is damage to all your blood cell lines. So this damage is because this protective factor Adam TS13 is lacking. And another thing to differentiate both of these is neurological presentation. अगर patient TTP का है, the clinical features will be very similar to HUS, but if you get a neurological complaint या आपके question में कोई CNS deficit mention किया हुआ है, then please go for TTP. Clinically, it's very difficult to differentiate between these two. The only most important hinter that you have is CNS involvement. ठीक है. So अगर CNS involved है, then it is going to head towards TTP. इसके अलावा ड्रग रिएक्शंस होते हैं जिसकी वजह से हेमोलिटिक यूरेमिक सिंड्रोम हो सकता है. So out of drug reactions, you have to remember only two that we use, that is cyclosporin and tacrolimus. कहाँ पे यूज किया था हमने ये दोनों ड्रग्स? Can you please mention in the chat box? अभी कुछ दिन पहले ही पढ़ाया है मैंने. कहाँ पे यूज किया था हमने cyclosporin and tacrolimus? Which disease did we read it? इसके अलावा कोई भी सिस्टमिक इलनेस जो होती है हमारी बॉडी में which can also help and cause damage to the renal system like SLE, malignant hypertension, एंड कोबालामिन सी डिफेक्ट। तो इसके ऊपर एक बार क्वेश्चन बहुत पहले आ चुका है, कोबालामिन सी डिफेक्ट। So you should remember that cobalamin C defect is related to HUS, ठीक है। And finally हमारे renal damage जो सबसे ज्यादा profound कब होता है, when we get transplant। So transplant की वजह से renal damage बहुत ज्यादा होता है। So whenever there is bone marrow transplant, any stem cell transplant, any organ transplant, so it can again lead to the presentation of HUS, ठीक है। So HUS के causes में सबसे important क्या है, diarrhea associated HUS, which is caused because of STEC, that is your E. coli strains। दो strain के नाम याद रखने हैं आपको, O157H7 and O104H4, ठीक है। After this you have other important causes which can lead to HUS. These causes include Streptococcus pneumoniae infection, also HIV infection। So Streptococcus pneumoniae के ऊपर question जो आता है, that is the neuraminidase part। So neuraminidase presence की वजह से Streptococcus pneumoniae can lead to your renal injury। Apart from this, you also have the complement dysregulation। So complement में factor H, factor I and factor B, HIV। Apart from this, C3 deficiency। These are very very important causes of leading to HUS, which is atypical presentation। इसको हम familial HUS भी कहते हैं। Then you have a mimicry condition, that is TTP। मतलब HUS और TTP को differentiate करना बहुत मुश्किल होता है। Both of them present quite similarly। The only difference that you have is that in TTP you will find features of CNS deficit। That means there is going to be some hinter that is pointing towards neurological problems। Drug induced में you have to remember cyclosporin and tacrolimus, which we had read in the treatment part of second line drugs of nephrotic syndrome, ठीक है। So these drugs are very very important and you should be very clear with it। Then after this you have got systemic disease associated problems like SLE, malignant hypertension and cobalamin C defect, and most importantly transplant reaction। So अगर इन सारे causes में से any cause you find out of history and the patient has classical presentation of thrombocytopenia, microangiopathic hemolytic anemia and renal injury, that is deranged KFT, then you can diagnose the patient as HUS, ठीक है। So etiology, as we have already seen out of the chart, let's just see what does your textbook mention। So most common form of HUS is Shiga-like toxin, which is produced from E. coli, that is STEC, which causes the prodromal acute enteritis, and this is known as HUS associated or diarrhea associated HUS। Now this accounts for more than 90% of all the cases। जो बाकी हमने causes पढ़े थे, they are only 10%। इसलिए most common cause अगर कोई आपसे पूछे, then it is again STEC associated HUS। Now several serotypes of E. coli can produce the toxin, out of which O157H7 is the most common type, as I already told you। Now this can also be transmitted by any fecal-oral route, any contamination in the food like undercooked meat, unpasteurized raw milk, swimming pool getting contaminated with these organisms। So from anywhere you can acquire the infection। It can also spread from person to person। Now rare form of HUS, as I told you, is neuraminidase producing Streptococcus pneumoniae। This is a very very important point। It could be a leading question in the upcoming exams because हर बार question STC पे आता है। So maybe the next target that they can ask is Streptococcus pneumoniae, and in that too neuraminidase producing S pneumoniae, ठीक है। Now the atypical forms that I told you, these are the genetic forms of HUS which are atypical or the non-diarrheal forms, that is caused due to inherited deficiencies, ठीक है। Now दो चीज की deficiency जो बहुत ही important है, एक complement factors। So complement में we have seen H, I and B, ये तीन complement factor की deficiency से HUS हो सकता है। And apart from this we have got added TS13 deficiency, ठीक है। So इन दोनों के problem के वजह से what can happen, inherited deficiencies will lead to the genetic form of HUS। Some of these may be due to cobalamin C mutations as well, ठीक है। So cobalamin C mutation के वजह से भी, as I told you, atypical forms are present। So characteristic in these genetic forms is that they will not present with diarrhea। If you are having a diarrhea associated HUS, that means we are classically dealing with your typical type of HUS, that is your E. coli strain related। If we don't have a diarrheal prodrome, then what will happen? That means we are dealing with atypical HUS। All these genetic forms that we have studied, Adam TS13 deficiency, complement deficiencies, cobalamin C mutations, Streptococcus pneumoniae, all of these are atypical presentations। Now it can also occur following a bone marrow or solid organ transplantation, and also due to use of drugs like cyclosporin and tacrolimus। So as it is written in the textbook, these are the most important causes that you should know by name at least, or typical ka you should know both the strains, that is 157H7 and 104H7 as well. ठीक है, so अगर ये सारे नाम आपको याद है, you are able to recall everything, then you can mark all the answers that what are the causes for HUS. Now coming to the pathology part, what happens? It is a hemolytic uremic syndrome. ठीक है, so सबसे पहले renal damage तो होना ही होना है. So what is going to happen? Early glomerular changes are going to occur. So renal damage के terms में, renal damage के वजह से क्या होगा? There is going to be thickening of the capillary walls. So capillary wall के thickening के वजह से the endothelial cells, जितने भी cells हैं हमारे, उनकी swelling हो जाएंगी. Now there is going to be accumulation of different materials that gets deposited in these swollen up endothelial cells. ये डिपोजिशन की वजह से, जैसे हम एंडोकार्डाइटिस में पढ़ रहे थे कार्डियोलॉजी में कि कैसे वेजिटेशंस बनते हैं, सो जब एक बेस प्रिपेयर हो जाता है उसके ऊपर और भी गंदगी आके डिपॉजिट हो जाती है. सो फाइनली द प्लेटलेट्स, द फाइब्रिन, एवरीथिंग इज गोइंग टू गेट कंबाइंड एंड इट विल लीड टू अ थ्रोम्बी. So because of this fibrillar material that is getting accumulated in these swollen up cells, you're going to have a platelet fibrin thrombi. So once this platelet fibrin thrombi is formed, it is seen in the glomerular capillaries very well. Now these thrombi will do what? These thrombi can go and affect your smaller arterioles and the small arteries. They are going to undergo necrosis. अब वो block हो जाएंगे, ठीक है? जितने छोटे minute vessels है वो easily block हो जाते हैं. So these thrombi will go and block your arterioles and small arteries, which will lead to their necrosis. Now late finding is, if we don't attend it and we don't manage the complication, because of this necrosis, gradually there is going to be sclerosis as well. So that is how it leads to renal damage. So whenever we have any kind of toxin that is released, अगर हम E. coli की बात करें, so STEC strain में जो Shiga like toxin release हो रहा है, they basically cause the microvascular injury. This term is very very important. It is a microvascular injury. ठीक है? It is a microvascular injury which occurs in the endothelial cell, which is the characteristic thing that happens in HUS. So in diarrhea associated form of HUS, what will happen? अगर हमारे अंदर diarrhea inducing agent पहुंच गया, that is they produce either Shiga toxin or verotoxin. So what will happen? These toxins get absorbed from the colonic mucosa into the systemic circulation. Once they get absorbed, they will bind to the endothelial cells in your renal apparatus, that is glomerular, and it will cause endothelial cell damage. So the direct mediated injury from the Shiga toxin or verotoxin that leads to damage to the endothelial cells in the glomerular. जिस डैमेज के ऊपर आपके फिब्रिलर मटेरियल डिपॉजिट हो जाएंगे, एक प्लेटलेट फाइब्रिन माइक्रोथ्रोम्बाई बन जाएगा, which is going to block the vessels and cause renal injury. This is the whole pathogenesis that occurs. So this Shiga-like toxin can directly activate the platelets to promote their aggregation also. So this mechanical injury to RBCs occurs when, अब जब हमारे रीनल सिस्टम से ब्लड फ्लो कर रहा होता है, जितनी भी थ्रोम्बोसिस हो रखी है, जो माइक्रोवास्कुलेचर में थ्रोम्बोसिस हो रखी है, उसके ऊपर से जब आरबीसीज क्रॉस करता है, इट प्रोड्यूसेस मैकेनिकल डैमेज टू द शेप ऑफ द आरबीसी. सो अगर ये डैमेज आरबीसी हमारे स्प्लीन में जाएगा, सो इट विल गेट रिट्रैक्टेड इनसाइड द स्प्लीन and this results in severe non-immune forms of anemia. So mechanical damage या आरबीसी खराब होने की वजह से we get anemia. So अगर आप Coombs टेस्ट करोगे तो क्या मिलेगा? You will get a negative Coombs test. मतलब ये anemia इसके autoimmune की वजह से नहीं हो रहा. This anemia is because of microangiopathic hemolysis. That means जो RBCs इन thrombi के ऊपर से cross कर रहे हैं, वो उनसे टकराने की वजह से they are getting damaged. So once they are getting damaged, that will lead to your MAHA, that is your microscopic hemolytic microangiopathy. So this angiopathy is basically the damage of the RBCs. इसलिए हम Coombs test कभी भी करते हैं तो you will get it negative. Even in questions you are given a hinter of negative Coombs test. कहने का मतलब वो mechanical damage की बात कर रहे हैं, ठीक है? Now this is the exact thing that I told you what happens in diarrhea associated HUS. Pneumococcal associated HUS में भी सेम ही चीज है, but यहाँ सबसे important चीज है neuraminidase. So what does neuraminidase do? It cleaves the sialic acid of the endothelial cell, red cell and platelets. So अगर एक बार endothelial cell टूट गया तो क्या होगा? फिर से उसकी डैमेज हो जाएगी. अब वो टूटने की वजह से उसके अंदर जो T antigen होता है that gets exposed. Once the T antigen is exposed, then what will happen? हमारे बॉडी में जो endogenous immunoglobulin है, these antibodies, they recognize and react with the T antigen to trigger the hemolysis and anemia with a positive direct Coombs test. ठीक है? So immunoglobulin M antibodies जो होते हैं they recognize and react with the T antigen. So it triggers a hemolysis which is going to result in anemia. So neuraminidase वाले को हम atypical क्यों कह रहे हैं? क्योंकि यहाँ पे जो mechanism हम पढ़ रहे हैं that is different. If it is neuraminidase associated hemolysis, it occurs because of cleaving of the sialic acid of the endothelial cells. जब इन cells की cleaving हो जाती है then what will happen? इनके अंदर का T antigen expose हो जाता है. T antigen expose होने के वजह से the body reacts against its own antigen by forming antibodies. So इस antigen antibody reaction की वजह से hemolysis हो रही है, and because of this hemolysis what is going to happen? There is anemia, and now when you do a Coombs test, so you get a Coombs positive anemia. ठीक है, इसलिए हम इसको atypical type कहते हैं because it has got a different presentation as compared to the typical form. इसके अलावा जो familial types हमने पढ़ा था, familial recessive and dominant forms of HUS, they are basically caused due to any other reason. They could be because of genetic problems. It could also be associated with any infectious disease. So most important genetic part is ADAMTS13 problem. So absence of ADAMTS13 impairs the cleavage of von Willebrand factor. This question is very, very important. You will get this topic in your ITP also. You will get this topic in your HUS that we are discussing and also in other parts of hematology. So ADAMTS13 जो होता है उसका main काम क्या होता है? Cleavage of von Willebrand factor multiples. अगर ये cleave नहीं होंगे then what will happen? Your platelet function will get compromised. So basically von Willebrand factor multimers अगर cleave नहीं होते then it enhances the platelet aggregation. Now factor H, factor I and factor B, these three are the important complement regulator factors which are also very important for your genetic forms of HUS. Now progressive platelet aggregation, if it occurs in the areas of microvascular injury, can lead to thrombocytopenia. जहाँ भी आपकी microvascular injury हुई है वहाँ पे platelets की consumption start हो जाएगी. So that is the reason for decrease in the platelet counts. And microangiopathic hemolytic anemia again results from the mechanical damage to the red blood cells as they pass through the damaged and the thrombotic microvasculature. So this is the pathogenesis that occurs in HUS. Now what will happen clinically? Now if you see a patient of HUS who has had got diarrhea associated HUS, the onset occurs about a week, that is 5 to 7 days after the onset of gastroenteritis. The patient could have fever, vomiting, pain, abdomen and diarrhea as the only history. So जब भी diarrhea के बाद AKI मिलता है, diarrhea होने के बाद acute renal injury हो जाए, then you have to think about HUS. ठीक है? Diarrhea is often bloody diarrhea. क्यों? क्योंकि it is caused due to Shiga-like toxin which causes dysentery. ठीक है? So Shiga-like toxin या verotoxin के वजह से ये diarrhea है. So what is going to happen? This diarrhea will also have blood inside it. So it is basically a dysentery. There is going to be sudden onset of pallor. Pallor क्यों हो गया? क्योंकि यहाँ पे महा हो रहा है. ठीक है, sudden onset of pallor जिसकी वजह से the patient will have weakness and lethargy. There is microangiopathic hemolytic anemia. Mechanical damage की वजह से there is MAHA. Oliguria may be present in early stages. Oliguria क्यों हो रहा है? क्योंकि renal damage हो रहा है. ठीक है, जो small vessels हमने पढ़ा था microvascular injury की वजह से there is renal damage. So oliguria will also occur in the early stages. It can present with either significant dehydration or volume overload both. So dehydration कब होगा? When there is loss of fluid from the body, and volume overload कब होगा? जब patient renal failure में चला जाएगा. ठीक है? So depending on whether it is enteritis or renal insufficiency from HUS, this kind of presentation can predominate. Now pneumococci associated HUS usually presents with features of pneumonia, empyema and bacteremia. So if you don't get a history of diarrhea and still you suspect that the patient is having HUS, then you have to go for other etiological findings. Apart from diarrhea, जो हमने बाकी etiologies पढ़े थे, multisystem diseases थे, pneumococci was there, infective etiology was there. So out of these pneumococci के वजह से अगर HUS किसी को हुआ है तो definitely उस patient को pneumonia होगा, empyema होगा and bacteremia would be present. If you run the other tests, then you will see that leukocytosis is going to be present. There is severe prodromal enteritis and hyponatremia. Now renal insufficiency can be mild but also can rapidly evolve to give rise to severe oliguric renal failure. ठीक है, इट इज नॉट नीडेड. जो इंजरी हो रही है वो बहुत ही माइल्ड है. जो आपकी acute kidney injury है because of HUS, this injury could be very very severe क्योंकि जहाँ भी vessels है आपके microvasculature they are getting obstructed due to the thrombi formation. So microvascular injury के वजह से sclerosis हो सकता है, and because of that the AKI part would be very very severe. Many a times because of acute renal failure, the patient can go into life-threatening hyperkalemia. तो जब भी हमारी kidneys choke हो जाती हैं तो क्या होता है, हमारा potassium increase हो जाता है because it is not getting excreted out. There is acidosis as well. So there can be life-threatening hyperkalemia also. Dialysis is required in about 50% of the patients with STEC-HUS. So what can we do? If the patient goes into acute renal failure, there is no specific management of HUS. You only have to manage the complications and do a conservative treatment. So अगर AKI बहुत ज़्यादा profound है, then we have to go for dialysis. ठीक है? So this is very important. We have to do a dialysis. There can be volume overload, hypertension, anemia, and heart failure, which can occur as complications. So अगर acute renal failure है, तो again patient can have hypertension. The patient will have volume overload because of less excretion of the fluid from the body. Severe anemia महा के वजह से हो रहा है, overload के वजह से the patient can go into heart failure. Now CNS is very very rare. This is the most important finding which will help you differentiate it from TTP. ठीक है, अगर CNS इन्वॉल्वमेंट है then you can suspect a case of thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura. But अगर CNS features नहीं है then you can suspect HUS. So this is the only differentiating features that you have between TTP and HUS. Now even in HUS, if sometimes by chance there is CNS manifestation, it again occurs क्योंकि CNS में जो microvascular structures है उनकी thrombosis हो गई. So this dehydrated state, this formation of multiple thrombi due to platelet and fibrin combination that is going to go and block the vessel anywhere in the body. So अगर इसने CNS के vessels को block कर दिया, then what will happen? The patient will have CNS thrombosis also. Hypertension may produce an encephalopathy and seizure-like disease. In severe inflammatory colitis, there could be ischemic enteritis, bowel perforation, intussusception, and pancreatitis. So all the multisystem disorders and complications can occur in these patients. But most important is hypertension, जिसके वजह से patient को seizures हो सकता है, encephalopathy हो सकती है. Now platelet count is very low, but petechiae can be present. But severe bleeding due to low platelet count is rare. So HUS में कभी भी life-threatening bleeding नहीं होती. The only manifestation that we get is petechiae formation. ठीक है? However, platelet count can fall very very drastically, but we don't find any episode of life-threatening bleeds. Now coming to the diagnosis, starting में I told you it is a clinical diagnosis. There is no test that you can run and say that this is a patient of HUS. So if you find MAHA, that is microangiopathic hemolytic anemia with presence of schistiocytes, ठीक है, HUS, S से याद कर लो schistiocytes. If you get this in question, please mark your answer as HUS. Schistiocytes presence is classical for MAHA. ठीक है, there is thrombocytopenia and there is evidence of renal involvement or renal failure. Then what is very very important here, that we are dealing with a patient of hemolytic uremic syndrome. Thrombocytopenia could be any range. It could go as down as 10,000 to 20,000. Your PT and APTT are normal. ऐसा क्यों है? क्योंकि liver functions compromised नहीं है. There is no problem in coagulation. It is only the protein. It is only the platelet part that is getting affected. Holmes test is negative, with the exception of pneumococci induced HUS, and leukocytosis is often present and significant. ठीक है? So why is the Coombs test negative? क्योंकि ये मैकेनिकल डैमेज की वजह से RBCs खराब हो रहे हैं. अगर हम यूरिन एनालिसिस करेंगे then it typically shows microscopic hematuria and low grade proteinuria. ठीक है, यूरिन एनालिसिस में basically it is going to show you classical hematuria and very low grade proteinuria. क्यों? क्योंकि ये नेफ्राइटिक सिंड्रोम का पार्ट है. नेफ्राइटिक सिंड्रोम में हमेशा आपको हेमेचूरिया मिलता है और नेफ्रोटिक में यू विल गेट प्रोटीनूरिया. सो दिस इज वन बेसिक डिफरेंस दैट यू शुड नो. Now, presence and absence of this toxigenic organism on stool culture has got very little role. अगर हम suspect कर रहे हैं HUS, we don't need to go and prove that it is caused due to E. coli. We cannot isolate this organism in stool cultures. It's only a clinical sense that speaks that it is a toxigenic strain. Okay. So if no history of diarrhea is present or pneumococcal infection is present, then always go and search for all the genetic forms of HUS. ठीक है, जितने genetic forms हमने पढ़े, they all happen, and we need to diagnose them by excluding other common causes of HUS. If you don't get any clue and you still feel that the patient is HUS, then also you will not go and do a renal biopsy. Why? Because it is a clinical diagnosis. ठीक है. Renal biopsy has got no role because it is all reaction mediated injury to the kidney. अगर आप biopsy कर भी लेते हो तो आपको cause नहीं पता चलेगी, so it is not indicated. Now coming to treatment, so treatment is also totally conservative. कोई एक drug नहीं है जो आपने दिया और HUS resolve हो गया. So the mortality rate for diarrhea-associated HUS is less than 5%. Now, up to half of the patients may require dialysis initially because it leads to acute kidney injury. So dialysis requirement is definitely present. Recovery of platelet counts can occur usually first, followed by renal recovery about 5 days later, and finally by the resolution of anemia. So platelet counts जो fall हुए थे, they will recover very easily, and anemia part which was present, that will also recover very easily. So HUS is going to have its own self-limited course. That means ये अपने आप ही आएगा और अपने आप ही जाएगा. ठीक है. Now very few cases, at around 30%, could develop a chronic renal insufficiency. The prognosis of HUS is not associated even if diarrhea is severe. It is an autoimmune reaction which can occur in any patient. So ऐसा नहीं है किसी को बहुत ज़्यादा diarrhea हुआ तो उसी को HUS होगा. It can occur to anybody as a complication of diarrhea. Even if it has occurred due to pneumococci, the associated HUS causes increased patient morbidity with the mortality rate of 20%. ठीक है. So pneumococcal का भी बहुत ज़्यादा mortality rate नहीं है. However, जो genetic forms of HUS है, they have a very bad prognosis because they are progressive and relapsing diseases as well. ठीक है. So diarrhea का सबसे अच्छा, diarrhea associated HUS का सबसे अच्छा prognosis है, followed by this pneumococcal HUS, and last by the genetic forms. Genetic forms of HUS, they have got very bad prognosis. Now, primary approach towards HUS क्या होना चाहिए? We have to early diagnose this condition. अब क्योंकि ये clinical diagnosis है, then we all should be very very clever enough to diagnose it clinically. Monitoring for potential complications is also very very important, and we have to give a complete supportive treatment for this. Supportive treatment कहने का मतलब क्या है? अगर पेशेंट रीनल फेलियर में तो आपका फ्लूइड इलेक्ट्रोलाइट असेस करना है आपको. इफ एनी डेफिसिट यू हैव टू करेक्ट इट विद फ्लूइड वॉल्यूम. अगर हाइपरटेंशन है बिकॉज ऑफ acute renal injury, you have to give antihypertensives. If there is any life threatening situation, you have to go for dialysis. So these are all the conservative treatment that we do. Early intravenous volume expansion before the onset of oliguria or anuria may be nephroprotective in diarrhea associated HUS. Red cell transfusions are usually required because hemolysis can be brisk and recurrent until the active phase of the disease has resolved. So if a lot of hemolysis has occurred and the HP has fallen down drastically, then only you can do a red cell transplantation, that is PRBC transfusion. In pneumococcal type of HUS, it is critical that any administered RBC can be washed before the transfusion to remove the residual plasma. So अगर आप pneumococcal या किसी भी atypical में PRBC transfuse करते हैं, so जो autoimmune reaction था वो और aggravate हो सकता है. So you should only transfuse these kind of fat cells in the typical type of HUS, even if the anemia is very very profound and the hemolysis has occurred, which is very very profound. ठीक है. Platelet should generally not be given. You don't have to give platelet transfusion for thrombocytopenia in HUS. ठीक है. Your anticoagulation, antiplatelet, and fibrinolytic therapies are specifically contraindicated because it is a self-limited disease, and you don't need to give these treatments because the pathology is different. It is not caused because of problem in coagulation pathway. It is not due to problem in your platelet formation. It is not due to problem in your fibrinolytic problems. So it is all because of your MAHA, that is your microangiopathy या microvascular injury. ठीक है. वहाँ platelets consume हो रहे हैं. It is going to cause problems in coagulation. It will cause problem in fibrinolysis. So all these things should be kept in mind that it is a self-limiting disease. However, prompt treatment of the organism with pneumococcal is important because if you treat it initially, it might not go and get complicated with your hemolytic uremic syndrome. Now, for E. coli O57H7 associated HUS, antibiotics are still considered contraindicated. वैसे भी हम किसी भी डायरिया में मोस्टली एंटीबायोटिक्स नहीं देते हैं. अगर आपने HUS associated E. coli में भी एंटीबायोटिक दे दिया, it will not have much room. So what we can do is to think about a plasma infusion or plasmapheresis. Now this has been proposed for those patients who undergo severe manifestations of HUS. So जो भी toxin mediated injury है, जो भी antigen antibody complexes बन रहे हैं, उनको wash off करने के लिए we can do a plasmapheresis if a patient has got severe manifestation of HUS or there is serious CNS involvement. Now we have one very important drug, that is your C5 anti-C5 antibody, that is eculizumab. So this eculizumab is anti-C5 antibody which inhibits your complement activation. Now this pathway was a form of atypical type of HUS. So इसको prevent करने के लिए हम patient को eculizumab भी दे सकते हैं. ठीक है? So please remember the name of the drug. It is now approved for the treatment of atypical forms of HUS. Now, due to the risk of meningococcal disease, it is recommended to give meningococcal vaccine before giving eculizumab. ठीक है, अगर किसी पेशेंट को eculizumab दे रहे हो, then you have to vaccinate the patient with meningococcal vaccine before. Plasma therapy, which we have already discussed, can be of substantial benefit to patients who have been identified with the deficit of ADAM TS13. So जितने भी genetic forms हैं, genetic forms को treat करने के लिए we can use a plasma therapy. It may also be considered in patients with other genetic forms of HUS such as undefined familial form or sporadic but recurrent HUS. Most of the patients who have this diarrhea associated HUS completely recover on their own without any problem later on. So it is a self-limited disease, as I told you already. Now, patients who have recovered completely with no residual urinary abnormality after 1 year are unlikely to manifest any kind of sequelae. So, जब आप completely recover कर जाते हो HUS से, there is very less chance that there is any residual abnormality that is present. Okay, so that was all about HUS. It is a very small, very important topic to be read in pediatric nephrology. So, if you have any doubts, those who are listening, you can put in the chat box. I'll answer your doubts. If you are clear with the topic, just take a break of 2 to 3 minutes and then we'll start to discuss about HSP. So HSP, I think, was a question also this time. It was present in one of the options. So this is also a very important topic. It is a vasculitic disorder. So all of you should be able to understand HSP very nicely. Okay. Any doubts from HUS, please type in the chat box. If you don't have any doubts, we'll meet in 2 to 3 minutes and we'll discuss the next topic, that is HSP. All right. So moving ahead with the next topic, that is henoxia leaf purpura or HSP. Okay, this is a very important topic because it presents like a vasculitic disorder and it involves a lot of parts in the body, and the presentation and the purpura that is present is very characteristic in this. So you also get an image based question on HSP, which I have also put in my MCQ marathons, and in NEET PG also you had it in the options. Plus, there was a question related to HSP as well. So this again becomes a 5-star topic for upcoming exams. So HSP basically is an idiopathic systemic immune complex mediated vasculitis. It is a vasculitis disorder. That means जो आपके blood vessels है उनके ऊपर there is immune complex mediated injury that is going to happen. Okay, so it is idiopathic. We all exactly do not know the cause behind it, but once it is initiated, there is going to be vasculitic mediated injury. Now, one thing that is postulated is that it has got IgA deposition within the small vessel walls. So IgA is something that comes and gets deposited in the small vessels. Now, please remember that it is mainly a small vessel vasculitic disorder. This is also known as a साइटोक्लास्टिक डिसऑर्डर. कहने का मतलब आपके ब्लड वेसल्स के अंदर सारे ल्यूकोसाइट्स आ सकते हैं which can lead to the damage of your blood vessels. So it is IgA dependent mechanism that leads to the deposition of IgA in the very small blood vessels. So it is the most common small vessel vasculitis in children. This question has been asked many times, which is the most common small vessel vasculitis in pediatrics. So that is basically your HSP. Now peak incidence is basically from 4 to 6 years of age. Again, it depends on your school going age group. So HUS and HSP, both of them have the same age group. It is school going age group. Okay? Now 90% of the cases occur in children mostly, with about half of the cases which can happen after an upper respiratory tract infection. Although if you are asked about the cause, you have to mention it is idiopathic. Okay, it could be preceded by an upper respiratory tract infection. So what is going to happen? There will be a purpuric rash, there is going to be arthritis, and there is going to be abdominal pain. So these three are the characteristic feature that is present. The characteristic rash plus arthritis, that is bone pains, and severe pain abdomen. So अगर इस चीज का triad आपको मिल रहा है and you are able to appreciate the presence of rash in this patient, then you should go for the answer of HSP. So 50% of the patients with HSP, they develop renal manifestations which can vary from asymptomatic microscopic hematuria to severe progressive glomerulonephritis. So again, it is a formation or a type of presentation that mimics your nephritic syndrome. So it is a kind of glomerulonephritis that we had studied yesterday. So when we were discussing the causes, then we had also discussed in rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis the types of vasculitic disorders. So this HSP also comes under the same category. It can present simply with asymptomatic hematuria. That means there is nephritic picture. But if not, it can also progress to severe forms of progressive glomerulonephritis. So HSP nephritis shares a similar picture with IgA nephropathy. Okay? So IgA nephropathy will study in the next class, most likely tomorrow. So that time we'll discuss how IgA nephropathy functions and how there is gross hematuria. So if HSP also presents in the same fashion, then it is very difficult to differentiate the two because both is going to present with hematuria. Both of them will have features of renal failure. There can also be associated systemic complaints. So basically it is now said that it occurs because of IgA deposition, that is immunoglobulin A gets deposited in your blood vessels, that is the glomeruli. There is defective glycolization of the hinge region of IgA1 in the patients. Now, recognition of the exposed hinge region of IgA1 is naturally occurring autoantibodies leads to the formation of immune complex. So, जब ये immune complex बन जाते हैं, what they do? They go and get deposited. They sit inside the glomerular mesangium, leading to necrotizing vasculitis. ठीक है? So your vasculitis onset is all because of what? It is because of the necrosis that occurs, and that is because these deposits are present inside the glomerular mesangium. Any mucosal infection or blood or food antigen, anything can come and trigger this production of antibodies. So जब भी IgA1 की formation होती है, it can go and injure your glomerular apparatus, so that will lead to the vasculitis onset. ठीक है? अब स्किन में अगर हम स्किन बायोप्सी करके देखते हैं तो वेरी कैरेक्टरिस्टिकली व्हाट विल यू फाइंड, देयर इज ल्यूकोसाइटोक्लास्टिक वास्कुलाइटिस. एज आई टोल्ड you right in the beginning, it is also known as a leukocytoclastic vasculitis. That means you will see depositions of IgA, C3 and fibrin depositions. So क्योंकि आपका अगर ये blood vessels है, ठीक है, because of these depositions and autoimmunity, you will see that inside the blood vessels in and around all the deposition of IgA, C3 and fibrins are going to start to occur. So जैसे जैसे ये deposit होंगे वैसे वैसे आपकी vessels खराब हो जाते हैं. If the vessels get blocked, it is going to lead to necrotizing vasculitis. Now pathognomic is IgA deposition, which you can also see on immunofluorescence. So अगर आपके पास question आता है, then you will see that immunofluorescence पे they would have mentioned IgA deposition, which is the most dominant immunoglobulin that is present in the glomerular mesangium. Histologically, a broad spectrum of glomerular lesions that can range from mild mesangial and endocapillary proliferation to necrotic crescentic changes can be seen. That means the amount of injury that is going to occur, that is variable. It can be very, very mild also, and the injury could be as severe as crescentic changes. So what would be the clinical manifestations? Now, classical tetrad of HSP includes palpable purpura, we have already seen, arthralgia or arthritis, and severe pain abdomen, and obviously evidence of acute renal injury, that is AK. So अगर ये चारों चीजें आपको मिल रही हैं clinically, that means we are dealing with a case of HSP. ठीक है. Now the nephritis associated with HSP usually follows the onset of rash. So first thing that you will find is the rash. Now these rashes के बाद your nephritic and all your problems of the renal system are going to start. The renal involvement occurs in approximately 50% of HSP cases, and more commonly it occurs in older children whose age is more than 8 years. The most of the patients, that is 80% of the patients, initially display only mild renal involvement. ठीक है. Principally, you will not be able to detect HSP most of the time because they can have simple microscopic hematuria. ठीक है. So अगर सिर्फ माइक्रोस्कोपिक हेमेचूरिया है पेशेंट को, then they will not be able to, you will not be able to detect the patient with HSP. So many a times it happens that the insult has already occurred, the sclerosis part and the damage to kidney has already started, but they can present only with microscopic hematuria. But some of the patients can progress and they can go to severe renal involvement, जहाँ पे उनके renal system में crescents बन जाते हैं. So when yesterday we had discussed the causes of rapidly progressive glomerulonephritis, the vasculitis disorders were also one of the causes. Now severity कितना होगा, that depends what is the severity and the damage to the renal system. Urine analysis should be done so that you can easily detect your proteinuria and hematuria easily. If all urine analyses are normal during the follow-up, then that means nephritis will not develop in this patient. So it is very, very important to rule out and to know the importance कि renal involvement कितना severe है. So renal involvement and the formation of crescents, that is most important thing to detect the severity of HSP. ठीक है. So renal involvement and skin involvement, ये दो clues आपके exam में होते हैं questions में. So if you are able to understand that the examiner is asking you about palpable purpura, is asking you about nephritic onset, presence of hematuria, is giving you hint towards severe pain abdomen, bone pain. So everything is going to correlate and your answer will become HSP. Okay. Now indications to do a renal biopsy in HSP is also very important. So जब भी हम renal biopsy की बात करते हैं, we mean we are talking about things which is not normal. So जो normal से हटके होता है, जो atypical presentations होते हैं, उन चीजों को में हमने देखा कि इसमें nephritic picture होती है. ठीक है. नेफ्राइटिक पिक्चर कहने का मतलब द प्रेजेंटेशन विल अगेन हैव हेमेचूरिया, एडिमा, हाइपरटेंशन एंड रीनल फेलियर. सो इसके हटके अगर कुछ फीचर्स है, देन यू नीड टू प्रूव दैट इट इज गोइंग टू बी सम अदर मिक्सचर ऑफ प्रेजेंटेशन लाइक नेफ्राइटिक और नेफ्रोटिक पिक्चर. सो अगर पेशेंट ऑफ एचएसपी में बहुत ज्यादा प्रोटीनूरिया है, जो नहीं होना चाहिए क्योंकि ये नेफ्राइटिक सिंड्रोम है, नॉट नेफ्रोटिक सिंड्रोम. ठीक है. सो इस केस में हमें रीनल बायोप्सी करना पड़ेगा. अगर पेशेंट में यूपी-यूसी रेशियो इंक्रीज हो रहा है, देन अगेन इट इज moving towards the nephrotic picture, so we have to do a renal biopsy. If the patient has got significant hypertension for a very long duration of time, then we have to find out the cause and the exact presentation, so we will again do a renal biopsy. Or there is elevated serum creatinine. So renal damage बहुत profound हो, hypertension बहुत profound हो, proteinuria बहुत profound हो, या UP-UC ratio बहुत ज़्यादा हो, इन सारे condition में we have to do renal biopsy and see that exactly what is the cause. So coming to prognosis and treatment, so HSP again has got a good prognosis because it is self-limited. जितने भी damages हम पढ़ रहे renal system में, they are all reactions of our renal system towards the insults that has happened. So everything is going to be self-limited and the course is going to end on its own. So the prognosis of HSP is generally excellent. Spontaneous and complete resolution of the nephritis occurs in majority of the cases. Very few cases progress to chronic kidney disease. However, you don't have any exact treatment कि हम ये देंगे तो HSP nephritis resolve हो जाएगा. All we can do is to prevent the complications of your upper respiratory tract infection. So tonsillectomy can be done if any child gets repeated exposures of infections of the throat. So that could lead to a complication of HSP nephritis. Now, mild HSP nephritis does not require any treatment. Even conservative treatment is not required. It will resolve on its own. Apart from this, अगर आपको treat करना है, तो significant benefit has been reported only from one thing, that is immunosuppression. Why? क्योंकि there is antigen antibody formation over here. So high doses of corticosteroids along with the sparing agents like azathioprine, MMF, and cyclophosphamide can be used in some of the patients, so that it does not get progressed to chronic renal disease. Treatment of high-risk patients with either plasmapheresis or rituximab has also been indicated now. And those patients who have got severe renal involvement, they can be treated with oral prednisolone at 1 mg per kg per day for 3 months. And your BP can be controlled with the use of ARBs and ACE inhibitors followed by addition of second-line agent. So the main treatment is immunosuppression with steroids. And to prevent the long-term effects of steroid, you can add a second-line agent like azathioprine, MMF, and cyclophosphamide. Now, for those children who have got severe histological manifestation, मतलब जिसमें RPGN develop हो चुका है, जिसमें crescents बन चुके, you can also give them a pulse dose of methylpred for 3 days, followed by your oral prednisolone doses. And those children who have got very severe histopathology means they will definitely go into renal failure. So end-stage renal disease अगर हो गया किसी untreated patient में, then we don't have anything to treat it. We can only do a renal transplantation. Okay. So that is all for today. So I think we have discussed two very important topics today, that is your hemolytic uremic syndrome and Henoch-Schönlein purpura. Both of them are 5-star topics for your exam, any exam, INICT, FMG, and even your NEET PG exam. So these two topics need to be mastered very, very nicely. So regarding the subscription part, again, those who have not subscribed till now, please come and subscribe so that we can be a part of the same team under the Plus subscription and we can learn all the units easily. And we get to prepare very, very well for the exams. So Plus subscription is the most basic subscription that we have to offer you. Under Plus subscription, you get a lot of benefits, like you get access to live and recorded sessions, you get to learn from the top educators, you compete in the live tests and quizzes, you can study from the device of your choice. You also get option of having 25,000 plus questions with explanation. So this is going to be very, very beneficial. And if you get a subscription of 12 months or more, then you can get a handy printed set of notes as well. Now above Plus, we have got the iconic subscription. So this subscription is the 5-star subscription because it is combination of Unacademy and Prep Ladder both. So if you take this subscription, you can start to prepare from both the forum. So you will get the benefits of live classes, recorded classes, question banks, live tests and quizzes. You also get the benefit of clinical and integrated sessions, video classes, question banks, rapid revision courses, and dream notes. So all of these are going to be very, very useful. Now this limited time offer is to be taken up by all the candidates who are planning to buy any subscription. So if you use my code, that is Kavita S10, it is going to be beneficial with this amount that is quoted. That means the prices which have dropped can be availed if you put down my code Kavita S10. So first 500 students or candidates who are coming up with this code will be able to avail this offer. And this offer is going to end or has almost like ended in a day or two. So please come and subscribe as soon as possible. We also have new batches, Target Next 2022, FMG 2021 batch, Clinical Examination and Procedure batch, and INICT 2021 batch. So everything has started from 15th of September. Those who have not enrolled into any of the classes, please come and enroll as soon as possible. We also have the offer of 24+4 or 12+2. So whatever subscription you take, you get additional benefit to access your course for 4 months duration or 2 months duration. So whatever subscription you take, please choose your duration, and once you go to the payment option, you can put down my code, which is Kavita S10. If you put this code, you get additional discounts above the and above the discount that Unacademy is offering you, you get additional 10% discount, so that becomes financially also useful. So all the best to all of you. Thank you for listening so patiently. So tomorrow again we'll have a session on pediatric nephrology, where we'll be discussing other important topics in pediatric nephrology like Alport's disease, IgA nephropathy, approach to hematuria, and many other important things. Okay, so please keep revising, please keep studying, and all the best to all of you.